This show is sponsored by Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. Hello, all my entrepreneurs and business leaders, and welcome to the Michael Esposito Show, where I interview titans of industry in order to inform, educate, and inspire you to be great. My guest today is an award-winning FCPA who works exclusively with entrepreneurs to help them make more money and gain financial clarity in their businesses. As a financial expert and author, he shares insight and wisdom as a public speaker, is often cited in major business journals related to money, finances, and entrepreneurship, and works directly with more than 500 businesses across North America, helping them build a better business and generate greater financial performance. He founded Gauvreau Accounting Tax Law Advisory in 2008 and is now one of Canada's fastest growing businesses as recognized by the Globe and Mail, Maclean's, and Financial Times. He's been featured on Fox News, NBC, Yahoo Finance, Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, the Gary Vee Podcast, and now the Michael Esposito Show. Please welcome CEO and founder, Robert Gauvreau. Welcome.
Awesome. Great to be here. Wow, that intro, it's like one of those, time to go. That sounded too good. We got to carry on, but really excited to be here, Michael.
But here's the thing with that intro is what I love is just the experience that you have in all the different communication formats of meeting with people, whether it's on a newscast of like a Fox News or a podcast or a public speaker. You bring this dimension of being able to explain what you do and how you do it in all these different formats. And that's why I want to highlight that for our audience, because it just means the amount of value that you're going to be able to bring today. It just showcases how you're able to, sometimes I'm sure on Yahoo Finance, it's like very direct. It's like, here are the numbers, here's what we got. And then like on a Gary Vee, I know that how he's high energy and he asks quick questions and you got to fire him off quick. And then here we're more conversational. So it's like a mix of everything together. And then also just all of those credits. Two things. One, it's important sometimes to pat ourselves on the back. So please give yourself one. But it's also important for our audience to know who they're learning from, of an expert in the field, an expert communicator, an expert who's been doing this for a very long time. And so it just adds such tremendous value to our show and to our audience. So I appreciate you coming on today.
No, and thank you for that, and I think one of my personal passions right now is celebrating success of others, because, sometimes we get in the entrepreneurial space, we get a little afraid to celebrate our wins because other people feel like, we're boasting about ourselves or we're bragging, but it's, sometimes in that entrepreneurial world, we need to actually stop and celebrate success and momentum. And it's a good thing. It shouldn't be thought of that it's something we need to be afraid of sharing. So thank you for sharing that for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll stay on that for like one more second, because actually I do an Instagram live every morning. And yesterday marked my 1 month anniversary of going live every single day, even including the weekends. And I took a moment to celebrate, and I was sharing that. And I would love your feedback on this as well, in that how important it is to celebrate the small milestones along the way to the major goal.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a small milestone either, Michael. Like, I can never, as much as, people like you and I talk about it, and we know that that's what we need to do, right? Because, our goal, and I don't want to speak for you because we are just kind of hanging out for the first time, but I can tell you that both of us are aligned with this passion to help as many people as we can in doing what we do. And we know, if we want to be supporting and influencing or positively having an impact on the most amount of people, those are the things we have to do, getting on and doing those lives every single day. But it's so easy to say it. So the fact that you've done it, good for you, my friend. Like, that's it's something I've never been able to do consistently, because I feel like my life has so many things that I'm just in time. So Man, that's an awesome, awesome celebration.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And it is, it certainly is juggling. You know what it is? I don't make it too much of a big deal. The girls interrupt, my daughters interrupt, and they're a part of it, which is really cool, I think, for them as well, since, they're so involved in seeing stuff on social media and, watching YouTube videos and seeing all these moms do their own little shows. So my daughters are now kind of like creating their own.
That's awesome.
So share with us a little bit more about yourself. So this is really cool. You're in Canada. I love it when I have a guest from another country. It just feels amazing. We've been in India. Now we're in Canada. On my lives, I have somebody who joins me regularly from Australia. So it's so cool to like kind of be global. But tell me about like what it was like growing up in Canada and what brought you to the financial industry.
Yeah, no, I was pretty, so as a good Canadian, many of us played hockey. And I celebrate my son playing hockey as well. Just our national treasure, really. But spent a lot of time as a kid, as an athlete, as a high performer, always striving to, compete on teams, compete individually, and push myself to be, the best version of myself. And one of the things I love about kids and being in sports or on teams is learning how to work together to create something bigger than you, right? And I think for me, it was always a passion of mine to always just be that high performer. Played hockey at a fairly high level, ended up playing a little bit of time in junior A hockey, which was fun. And then realized in late high school, man, I got to figure out what I'm going to do because I'm not going to be a professional athlete. I'm not God's gift genetically to be that person. So started focusing on education and probably not till late high school, and at that point, trying to figure out what it is I wanted to do. And Michael, you'd be probably surprised. I actually wanted to be a teacher, which is, circle around now. I do a lot of teaching. But it's, about my passion and about, what we can do to influence people. But back to education, because I had sort of focused on my athletics through high school, my marks were okay. They were, just right around that 80 mark. And I didn't get into teachers college. And so that was an interesting thing. I was like a little bit of a setback for me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just jump in. I have this passion for wanting to take business or to teach business at high school was really what I wanted to do. And then I engulfed myself into the business program at Trent University, which is in Peterborough, Ontario. And I fell in love. And I felt this connection that I'd never had before to my purpose. And I've just felt like I had this greater purpose to help make the world a better place through entrepreneurship. And that was super exciting for me. But, at the same time, I'm sitting there with, thousands of people graduating in the same class as me. We're all leaving the same institution. Everybody's going out looking for likely the same jobs. At that point, I was like, how do I differentiate myself from everybody else? And that's where accounting came in and finance came in for me. It was an older, generation of accountants that kind of had this boring lack of personality, sort of identity. And it came naturally to me in university. So I thought, well, why don't I put together, this boring sort of industry where I seem to be naturally good at it, put that together with entrepreneurship. And what if we just disrupted an entire industry? How cool would that be? And that was really the start for me, Michael.
It's funny. I recently just had, I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but I recently just had a former hockey player as well on the show from Canada. So it's so funny.
Shocking.
Or maybe I'm assuming he's from Canada. I might be making an assumption there. Sorry, Justin. But he was on. He's also a 10Xer with yourself, and he worked in the National Hockey League. So it's just kind of like interesting, the correlation between being a high performer in sports. Sports plays such a great role in bringing out that competitive spirit, but also like even people who aren't competitive, but also just driving ourselves for excellence. What got you? I mean, I know that you're in Canada and you said national treasure and everything, but was there any family members that also helped bring out this competitive nature in you outside of just hockey?
Good question. Yeah, let's
mentors.
Say, yeah, I feel like a lot of the time, when we enter into sports, especially if we enter into sports at a young age, it's more based on the fact that our parents think it's something we'd enjoy, right?
Right.
And I would say, my dad played hockey. I feel like maybe he missed the opportunity to play hockey at a competitive level as a younger person, because his parents weren't necessarily willing to invest the time. And my dad invested the time and wanted to be there and was there for me. I don't even know if he missed a game in my entire life while I was playing, at a competitive level. So for sure, he instilled that in me. And I would say, a lot of values came out of that and that relationship with my dad. One, show up every day for yourself and those that you're playing with, and that's a value that we have in our business as well. Show up every day and be there for yourself and for other people. Always work hard, like always give it 100%. No regrets, no holding anything back. And truthfully, as part of that, be a good human. Be a good human. And doesn't mean you can't be competitive and want to kick somebody's butt, in the way that the game is meant to be played, or that you just want to be the best version of yourself. Maybe even celebrating people on the journey with you that are beating you, like that's okay. It's okay to have somebody who's better than you, but to aspire to be the best is okay. Right. And I would say that those were values that likely my dad instilled in me at a young age.
Yeah, and I love I love bringing sports into business and into our regular world. And we started off with celebration, and like I was saying about the live yesterday that I did about celebrating, I was thinking about I'm more of a basketball fan and NBA fan, and I was just thinking about in any season, in any sports season, there's a championship. There is an Olympics for our athletes like runners and things, or maybe the U.S. Worlds, whatever it's called. But what I'm getting at here is there has to be this break, this celebration in all of it. And I think sports teaches us that, and this correlation with celebration, but then the values that you bring into your business. And we're definitely going to talk about that. And I love how you talk about how every employee, and you have over just under 100 employees from my understanding, right?
Yeah.
Every single one of them knows the values. And again, just relating it back to sports, it's the same thing with a championship team, with any high-performing team, is everybody on the team needs to know, what are we working towards? Are we working towards rebuilding? Are we working towards a championship? What are our values? What's our core beliefs, right?
100%. And I would say too, that's something that we have on our wall, but it's not just something that's on the wall. We've recently went through a transition where we brought some new people on in a group to join our team, and both sets of individuals, really high, strong values. One talked about them and one lived them, and there's a difference, right? Living those values versus just talking about them. It's not just the cool thing to do. It's a way of life, right? And living those values, if you want to be part of something, if you really want to be part of something that's special, you find a group of people who believe in what you believe, and you engulf yourself in it and you live those values. That's where you'll find your true passion, and you'll find that it's exciting to go to work every day. I listening to Simon Sinek the other day, and he had this one clip where he said, think of your work, your business, your job like your kids. You essentially want to find the passion, the why, the purpose, so that you love what you do. Doesn't mean you're going to like it every day. Just like your kids, you love them. There may be days that they ruin your day, or, they make it really difficult for you, but you still love them. So you're going to be back the next day. And we want the like, but the love is really the connection that we have to our purpose, to our mission, to our why we exist.
How do you just talked about living those core values, and I got to stay here with this because this is awesome stuff here. How do you draw out that love? Because, someone applying for, to a job at a tax advisory, a lot of times they're just applying for a job. It could be their first job in the field. It could be that they have a long tenure and they're coming there for maybe a financial upswing in their career. So how do we get them to shed where they're coming from and fall in love with your firm?
Yeah, it's a great question. What I do want to say is that we're constantly trying to make that better too. In fact, we had a strategic meeting with our leadership team yesterday, redefining and evolving our core values to be like the 2.0 iteration of it, right? Like, let's continue to evolve with this. Let's take our values and our mission to the next level. And one of the cool things as we were reflecting, we work with I know in the intro it said 500 clients. We're at about 1,000 clients now, awesome. Which is super cool because we're constantly growing and investing in growth. And, thinking of those 1,000 clients, if those 1,000 businesses that we work with all impact and touch 1,000 people throughout a year, that's 1 million people. So our influence and our reach by essentially empowering business owners to have the courage to make decisions and the courage to invest in helping more people, then we're indirectly positively influencing the world by 1 million people a year. That's pretty powerful. So, and that's something that lights me up. I want to be part of an organization that has the ability to positively influence 1 million lives a year. In fact, I want that to be 10 million lives a year. That's our goal. And, even just yesterday saying, this is now going to be part of our recruitment process. I said this yesterday, and I don't know if my team's going to agree with me or not, but I said, wouldn't it be great that every new offer we have for a new employee, we send them the offer, and inside the offer, it's going to be password protected. And in order to get access to that password, they have to watch a video and sign off on our core values to say that this resonates with us. If this resonates with you, you're all in on this mission, in this purpose, and these are the core values that you can resonate with. If not, don't bother coming, right? Like, we're building a long-term play here. So just so you know, when you get here, this is going to be something that we expect you're fully aligned with. And if you sign off on that, like, take the blue pill, right? If you take the blue pill, here's the password for the job offer and being part of this, because we're on a mission to positively change 10 million lives.
I love that it's part of the recruitment process. And I know it's just kind of like in theory right now. But when you're saying it to me, what's coming to mind is a couple things, and they're sort of questions, but statements as well, in that you're already, we talked about priming early on before we even hit the air. You're already priming them that this is it. Like, you have to be this person. And what I'm learning from this, and I hope our audience is learning from this, is that it feels, and here's where the question comes in. It feels like what you believe is, I can't force you to fall in love with these core values. You sign on, you become an employee here. I can't get you to fall in love with these core values. They have to be almost like a part of who you are, part of your identity, right?
100%. But what we can get people to fall in love with is our why, our purpose, right? So here's our purpose. These are the values. You got to buy in, right? It's part of who you are, which is why you're probably already attracted to the opportunity of working with us. That's why we're here. But you might be attracted based on the fact that we want to positively influence 10 million lives this year. And that might be something, which is a little bit different. We think of the accounting space, right? You don't really think of the accounting world as, oh, wow, look at the impact you're having on all the lives of all these people. But this is something that we genuinely know and believe and live, right? We know the work we do is having a positive impact on these people, which is why we're excited about it. We want everybody to be excited about accounting of all things, right, Michael? It's like, we want you to be inspired. If you're inspired about it and you're excited about your knowledge and your expertise actually changing people's lives,
right,
come join us. We're going to do it better than anyone in the world.
Which is, for someone like me, so I'm not a financially savvy person or numbers type of person. I would say the story I tell myself, as my coach would correct me, the story I tell myself is that I'm not good with numbers. So for me, it's nice to have a partner who is excited about the numbers, because I need somebody who's like, P&L report, yes, let's go, let's watch, let's look at it, let's see the numbers. I need somebody like that on my team, So that's very important to me.
Totally. And I think, and I think it even goes deeper than that, but I completely appreciate that relationship. But it's like, okay, here's the P&L report. What is it saying? What is it showing you, Michael? How do we use this to give you confidence to know exactly what's going on so that when opportunities arise, you can capitalize on it right now, right? Like that's, for me, it's that empowerment of the business owner, because, we all know the statistics and they're in our face all the time about failure, and businesses fail. Why do they fail? Well, predominantly, and I think it's 92% of the time, is because people run out of money. It's not because they don't have a good business idea or a great business. It's because they just run out of cash. Well, just imagine the confidence that you could have knowing that your cash position is good. The number one reason people fail, we have the confidence to give that to you, to be like, that is not going to be your problem, Michael. You're empowered to go out and take these risks because you're informed of what's going on in your business. You can go out there and conquer exactly what you're looking to accomplish. And, that's the powerful partner and that powerful support that empowers business owners to change the world. And that's what we're excited about.
So if 92% of businesses fail because they run out of capital or some reason according to that, then I would assume you have a lot of clients who join on that are pretty strapped. And my question that lies there is, how do you help get them out of that position?
And I can't remember the statistic, but it's over 80%. Over 80% of business owners are on a week-to-week cash flow basis, meaning that they're likely, and God, Michael, we've all been there, right? Like we've all had to transfer from our personal account to our business account to make payroll or to cover a bill, right? So
I'm doing it right now.
Well, that's it, right? And I've done it this year too, right? Because, sometimes unexpected things come up and we're all in on this investment. We need to make those changes. Now, to get away from that, think of how much time and energy sucks us in on worrying about our cash balance and covering those bills instead of focusing on strategy. So yes, 80% of businesses are all in that position. And there's fairly simple tools that we can put in place to eliminate that risk. And that's, the power of good partnerships, is being able to go in and say, like you just did, Michael, this is not my area of expertise, which is why I have a partner that we bring in, because that's essentially how we see it. We're a business owner's partner in helping them financially succeed. We have a partner who comes in and brings that expertise, so I can focus on what I'm good at, right? And ultimately, it eliminates that risk of failure. It doesn't completely get rid of it, because there's other circumstances that come up that are outside of maybe business owners' control, like politics and legislation, that are maybe things that we can't even predict. But when it comes to 92% of the failed businesses is because of cash, we can actually proactively plan that and eliminate that risk. Yeah.
And I want to highlight something before I go back on something else that you had mentioned earlier on. And what you were saying is, I want to highlight, we were just talking about employees and just having a higher purpose. So what you were talking about is I had asked you about how do you get them to fall in love, and I just want to make sure that our audience hears this, is that everything we just talked about is you share with your team and your employees and even your partners who you work with, is that you have this higher purpose, and that's what you're all working towards together. And that higher purpose is what they fall in love with, is what it came across as to me. I want to go back a little bit, because I feel like what we're talking about right now in terms of helping businesses, whether it's being proactive of avoiding any type of financial issues, or if they're currently experiencing financial issues, helping them get back on their feet. And you had mentioned earlier on that when you got into the accounting space and started working in there and seeing like the old heads there, and you're like, you know what? You said, I want to disrupt this space, or I want to create something that disrupts this space. And because it's such a buzzword, because it's such a word that is overused, quite honestly, today, I'm interested in your definition of disrupting the space and what that sounds like or looks like for you.
Yeah, love that question, Michael. First and foremost, we're the fastest growing CPA accounting firm in the country. So if anything, we're doing something that's different than everybody else in an industry that's actually shrinking. You know, our growth rate over the last 3 years, I think we just submitted it for some application, was 279%.
Yes, I saw that.
You know, we are changing and attracting people in. Some of the focus, so some of the reason that we're disrupting it, if you think of traditional CPA firms, you've got very high level experts, right? Which maybe the highest level experts in the world sit in an office and they do administrative functions. They file documentation. There's so much knowledge in those experts' minds that could be proactively benefiting small business owners, but yet they're sitting and they're processing paperwork. So one of the things that we've done is we say, and we do that very well. I should say that we are very good at tax filing all across North America. We're very good at financial reporting. But what we do is we draw out the expert knowledge and we get it into the business owners to say, listen, if you want to have a conversation with us about how you get ahead of this and build the best business you can, these are the pieces of knowledge that we have by working with 1,000 business owners. We can proactively help you grow and be successful. So that's one element of it. The second is the use of technology. So we just actually acquired a cloud-based accounting business as well in November, which, as far as utilizing a tech stack, everything being a cloud-based solution, QuickBooks Online, integrations with multiple app stacks to be able to make every business owner's life one, up to date so that you can see numbers up to date, but two, making it as efficient as possible. So we're utilizing some of these software and solutions. So as far as disruption goes, getting out of the room, being that proactive advisor, and then utilizing the best technology that's available to us in the world, putting those together is a pretty powerful position for our clients. The other piece that we've just kind of added in here is that we don't just offer traditional services either. So yes, we have the bookkeeping, right, which is with our tech stack. It's live bookkeeping, live reporting, so that business owners can see this, on a live basis, which is so important. We have the tax, we have the accounting. We also opened a law firm inside our business. Why? Because business owners need the legal advice. A lot of time they're acquiring real estate or they're looking at business structure planning, and it's like you've got multiple parties in place. So we've gone and we've pulled those together. Never thought I would be the owner of a law firm, but it's happened. And that allows for complete collaboration amongst professionals. So almost a one-stop shop sort of idea. And then on top of the legal side, we opened up a coaching arm as well. So it's like, how do we maximize the financial literacy of our entrepreneurial community? How can we help support those business owners continue to grow and maximize their impact? So we've pulled all of these different resources in and said, business owners, we have this really cool offering that I don't know that anybody in the world has, that's offering coaching, law, accounting, tax, all across North America, just for business owners. And that's a pretty unique space that we've created. And that's one of the ways we're disrupting our entire industry.
That's multiple ways that you're doing.
Yeah, right? Let's not hit them once. Let's hit them in 10 different areas.
I think that's really cool. Yeah. And, it's, and like I said, it's a word that's definitely used a lot. And from what I drew from what you just shared there is, it's offering, let's say, financial services in a different way than it's been traditionally done. And I think the next piece to that is that you're also then challenging your competitors to also change and adapt, because if they want to keep up with you and what you're doing at your firm, they need to offer services that are either up to par or similar than what you're currently doing, right?
Totally. And it's funny. So you talked about having a business coach. We do business coaching, but all coaches should have a coach, right? You need to see the value in having coaching services. So my very first coach told me, specifically, even in the accounting industry, if you have a specialized service or offering that's unique that nobody else is doing, you can shout it from the rooftops and nobody is going to do it because it's such a traditional industry, right? Where it's like evoking change in that industry to create a new offer and then to roll it out and get it out to all the clients is a big undertaking. One that is probably not going to happen because the industry is just busy. Mm-hmm. And I look at that as a competitive advantage. And when we talk about core values, there were two that, as we've been talking, have really stuck out that, have really resonated with our team. One is an integrity. Integrity meaning that we'll always do the right thing. We will never compromise our values for anyone, but that we will always show up and be there for our clients no matter what. Even if we're busy, we'll stay late, we'll do whatever it takes to get the job done for our clients from an integrity standpoint. But even thinking of the disruption, even if it's over an overused word, one of the core values that resonated with our team was innovation. So always looking for the next solution that we can add that will help our clients get to the next level. And so although we have a big offering with a multitude of different things, we know we're not done with that yet. We know there's more services and more offerings coming. As soon as we can identify that there's a market need from our clients, we'll find a way to bring that service to them.
Yeah. And I think it's a good word. I mean, I think it's very important to disrupt. I think, I always often think about the word entrepreneur and the word business owner. And sometimes I look at it and excuse me if anybody takes offense to this, and I don't mean to do it in that way, but I think of a business owner as somebody who goes into the business as a traditional business owner. And that's fantastic. You want to own a tax accounting firm and you strap your name on the door and you open it up and you follow the traditional tax accounting firm procedures and processes, and you do that for 50 years, pass it on to your family and kids, whatever it is, and it's tremendous and it pays for everything. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. But I think the difference with an entrepreneur is that they seek to disrupt. They seek to change. I actually heard this on another podcast recently. The guy said, I can't remember what his name is, but he said, entrepreneurs are actually lazy. We actually are looking for the easiest way to solve a problem. And through our search, our quest to be lazy, through our quest to find the solution, we're finding the easiest ways to get there. And that's what we offer to our clients, is the easiest way to get there. So I think that speaks to, the technology that you offer, the services that you offer. It's like, what's the easiest way we can solve this problem? What's the most effective way is probably the better word that we can solve this
fastest
problem.
Right? Like, how can we get you the result the fastest? Like, if you can instantaneously have access to what's going on in your business from a financial outcome standpoint, I don't care. I don't care. Call me lazy, call me whatever, but we're going to find the way that can get you that access to that data as fast as possible so that you're the most informed you can be to go out and make those changes and make those decisions. And I love that. So the shortest way we can get that result possible, I'm game.
And like you said, because that time, we hear so much about this these days about what is a business owner's greatest asset, right? It's time. It's our greatest asset. We're fortunate in this day and age where credit is available and angel investors are out there. And so money is there. So capital, which probably was one of the biggest hurdles back in the day, now it's really time. It's how do I maximize my time? Because I can't spend an hour trying to figure out going from one tax form to another bank account to whatever to figure out what my cash flow is. I need to know it now. Right. I actually have been in those situations. I need to know cash flow right now so I could figure out how to pay this bill, how to take care of this, how to go about this.
Because if you don't have access to that info, there's missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. Like we miss out because someone's going to get to that information faster than you.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So we need to figure out those pathways.
Yeah. And I love the use of technology too. There's a lot of technology out there. But when you bring it all together and sync it, like you were saying about the apps and getting them all to work, when they work together, it's amazing. And we're all experiencing that today. I want to go to your core values because this, again, relates back to your employees and your team and your culture and this love that we talked about early on for the business. And it's so important. And I'm trying to think of the book that I read this in about, I think it had to do with, I want to say it was Steve Jobs' book about Apple, about bringing the team together to create their core values and how rather than you as the founder just sitting in a room by yourself, isolated and writing these out, you're involving everybody else into this. And so the question that I have for you is, having an organization as high level as it is, having a number of employees in the organization, how do you get everybody together? And I know it's not all 100 of them, but how do you get everybody together, your executive team probably, together to be able to come up with these core values to where they really feel like they've been a part of the process while, and this is my last piece to it, while you as the founder are not letting go of your own core values for somebody else's?
100%. And I guess, Michael, the immediate response for me is, I guess it depends on how important you as a business owner feel these core values are in building the future. Because, and it's funny because you said, well, I know it might not be bringing everybody together. We actually flew everybody in.
Wow.
Right before the holiday season, we flew them all in and we had a day session talking about, what it is that from a value standpoint that we think is imperative that we have within the organization. And we had a full day on this. And then we had votes on what are the most relatable values for everyone. And there were some very clear winners. And then from there, we've kind of let it sit and resonate a little bit so that we could, reflect on it and say, okay, well, how do these values really impact outcomes and behaviors that we want for the team? How do we maybe tweak these in a certain way? And then we had our leadership team come together yesterday and spend a full day on values and mission and purpose and identifying that and articulating that very clearly. And, it was funny because my COO, Derek, and I chat about this very often. And it's so important that we don't just, as business owners and as leaders, that we don't just push down what we expect everybody to believe and what is valuable to them, but that we let them be the owners over those ideas. Because when people are owning those ideas, which actually drives a core value that we have in the business, but when people own those ideas, they're way more passionate and excited to see them completed, right? And one of the core values that came out of this for us was critical thinking. And it's like, okay, one of the ways that this is just the way that we're going to operate now, is that you're not just coming asking for answers to problems. Make sure in every relationship that if we have a problem, we're identifying 3 solutions and 1 recommended action to clear up that solution. 1, it empowers everybody to make those decisions. And 2, if it's their idea and they're the ones seeing it through, man, they want to see that through.
Right.
They don't want to see their ideas just kind of pitter away. They want to see, oh, wow, I came up with this. Let's make sure that this is the idea that's going to solve it. And they have that ownership over it. And it's super powerful. And same with the values. I don't want to say you need to be a good person, right? I want you to say integrity is important and overwhelming, which is amazing. When you bring the right group of people together, you already have aligned values, right? So them articulating what those values are, we're already connected by them. But now we're just a little bit more clear as to why we're connected. And integrity was, by far the biggest commonality amongst everybody. It was like everybody was wanting to be part of an organization that acted with integrity and professionalism. And there was no wavering on that. We had, obviously I said innovation as well, because people, when we're thinking of that innovative side, that disruptive side, people want to be part of change. They might not like changing, but they want to be part of something that's having an impact, right? So, all of these things, they came together. We brought everybody together because we know how important it is that everybody's connected and aligned on these values. Because if we're all working together for the same mission, the same outcome, everybody has to believe in it and everybody has to be on board.
Yeah. And I think you're touching on what I kind of want to follow with this. And that, first of all, I just want to say how impressed I am on your commitment to your entire organization to fly them out and to do this. It was obviously unexpected. I did not expect that, and I made an assumption. But it's amazing to see the value you put around that, and that's kind of where this question comes from. Because the question I have is, if you can share, it's really not a question about you, because we see the value you put on investing in your employees and in your company and in your mission. If you can share with others how that, maybe the ROI on that, and you just kind of like started saying a little bit about that just now, about the happiness of the employees and the impact that it has. But if you could share a little bit about that impact of why that investment is so important to you and your team.
100%. And, again, we're going through this process because we knew it needed a revitalization with bringing on a massive amount of new people, right? When we had our lived values in place and new people were coming on, it was just starting to get a little loose, right? And we, not that our values have changed, but have we evolved from being a company that started out with 2 people to now getting up to that 100 mark? Have the values evolved? Are we more sophisticated? Has our, if I think of this, and we were talking about this yesterday, my mission is to influence the lives of 10 million people. My team was going, is that big enough?
Wow.
Right? Because at some point we're going to influence the 10 million people. Right? We're going to have that positive impact on people, which I'm so excited about. But we're going to get to the point where, is that big enough? Like, we want to help more people. So, there's a bit of an evolution that needed to happen in this, but it is so, so important for alignment. Because if people are thinking that, different things are valued than what actually are, it'll actually drive their behaviors. So if people aren't understanding or fully aligned that integrity is number one, they may cut a corner. And so the ROI on this, one, is that the employee is very clear of what it is that's expected of them. 2, it's that core value is driving their performance as well. So when we're reflecting, a performance evaluation, and we're saying, we can't believe how well you acted with integrity. Like, you have the most integrity of any human I've ever met. They know that that's going to be part of that conversation, and that's them doing a good job. So alignment is huge. And it helps with creating outcomes for the business as well. We're thinking of values, we're thinking of critical thinking, coming up with solutions to answers and solving problems. Like, the more we can solve problems for our business, for our clients, the increase our reputation is, the better results we're getting for our clients, which means more referrals, right? Like, it's when everybody's working on the same page, the ROI on that is going to be, an infinite level. Mm-hmm. And it's really the stepping stone to creating something that's way bigger than yourself. Mm. And, that's, again, in the conversations I had yesterday with our team, is when I first started this, the idea of impacting or influencing 1 million lives was not even on the table. Now we're talking about 10 million lives. This is way bigger than one person. Mm. We all need to be on the same page and on the road and the path to accomplishing the same goals. When you're saying the 10 million, is that even enough? You're reminding me about the conversations I have about setting either attainable goals, which are good, or audacious goals. And this idea was instilled in me by Tony Robbins, and you had mentioned in your bio that you worked with Tony Robbins in one of the accounting firms that you previously worked at. I'm just wondering on the impact that he had on you. I mean, I can obviously see it and feel it from you, but I'd be remiss if somebody who was one of my first mentors through audio tapes, that is, somebody who was one of my first mentors, if I could learn a little bit from you right now from working with him firsthand. Yeah. Oh, so you were audio tapes. You were back in the day, Tony Robbins. That's great. I said audio tapes. I meant to say CDs, which yeah. It was when he was next first. Level. He was first coming out with his app, and I bought the app first, and it just was wonky. It wasn't really ready yet for launch, I guess, at the time. And so I returned it, and I purchased the CDs, and I downloaded them to MP3s. And I got to tell you, man, I literally listened, and I did it like a workshop. Like, I listened with my notebook in hand, and I was taking notes, and I was writing down, and I was pausing it when he told me to pause it. It was just a tremendous experience, and I'm forever grateful to that moment in my life. Totally. And so, just maybe a quick backstory. I remember, and it would have been somewhere in the 2016 range, and it was our existing firm. It was the firm that we had created. We got a call from Tony's CFO, and they, my administrator had come in and said, we've got Tony Robbins' CFO on the phone for you. And I'm like, what do they want? And they're like, I don't know. He wouldn't say, but he's excited to connect with you. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird. So of course I'm excited and a little bit nervous, and I'm like, why is, a $1 billion guy like Tony Robbins having his number one executive reach out to me? And they said, honestly, we are searching for partners to represent different countries and come in and work with Tony at his business mastery event. His business mastery event has about 2,000 business owners across the world. There were, hundreds of Canadians, which was where they wanted me to come in to represent Canada. And they said, essentially, we did our research, and, people who are changing the industry and offering advice and really care about the outcomes they can get for their clients. Your name is top of our list. And I'm like, how the hell did that happen? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is a big country. We've got, not as big as the United States, but we've got 38 million people. And I'm like, why was it me? And they ultimately said that they hired some of the best accounting coaches in the world, and said, give us your top names after some research. And mine was there, which was super, super cool. So for a few years, I attended Tony's business mastery events, did a lot of planning with his team, met him a few times, but worked closely with people like Keith Cunningham behind the scenes, which was super amazing. Keith Cunningham is an absolute gem. And that was amazing. So we were behind the scenes doing this, but we would go in at the events. Tony would say, you want to meet with the best accountants in the world? I've brought them in the room. Here's Bob and his team, and here's, the other partners that were in there. So it was a really amazing experience. And one of the things I would say about a Tony Robbins, aside from the fact that he's creme de la creme, right? Like he is the best of the best, is his genuine care for changing people's lives. Like I remember the first time I shook Tony's hand, it was just, there was some different feeling about shaking his hand and the connection that he had, the genuineness that he had, that was just nothing like I've ever experienced before. And, Tony isn't necessarily sharing a lot of information that's record breaking, right? Like it's not a lot of new information. He's just putting it together and getting people in the right mindset to take action on it. And I love it. Like, when I would go to these 3 events a year in across the US and even in Europe, he would say the same thing. And every time I'd be completely inspired and be like, oh my God, I need to change my life. I need to do these incredible things. And, that, if anything, that experience over 3 or 4 years of working with Tony and his team inspired me to think bigger. It was like, stop thinking small and start thinking about how you can truly have an impact on the world and do so out of a place of care and offering more value than anybody else. And, truthfully, our journey on the last 5 years or so since that experience has been exactly that. It's like, how can we continue to come from a really great place of care, integrity, but also just do more, give more, be more than anyone else can be.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that so much. And it's kind of, what you just shared about Tony Robbins not sharing record-breaking information. It's what's inspired me to do what I do in terms of the podcast, the lives, the different growth coaching that I do and everything, in that what I've understood that these are concepts that have been there since the Stoics, right? Like when you start studying Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism, and you read Meditations and all these different books that are just tremendous, you learn that it's been around forever. And it's just different interpretations. It's different ways of sharing it. It's who resonates with me more. And that inspires me because I'm like, okay, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just have to do it as Michael does it. And it's like Bob's going to come on and share his story, how Bob does it. And if this resonates with one person, that they learn something from it, it's not that you're sharing anything different in terms of disruption, let's say, than somebody else might have on the show, but the way that you might have shared it might have resonated with a business owner out there that goes, hey, you know what? I want to disrupt the deli industry, and we're going to change how delis are operating today because of this podcast, right?
100%. And Michael, I think we've nailed it in one area. And I think this is where Tony is the best in the world, where he pulls these teachings together, which again have been there. He's done his research. He's brought us this information, but he puts us, and he talks a lot about this, getting in the right state to take action.
That's right.
And you know why you're having the success that you're having? Because you did it. You took the action, right? Just like me, are there going to be smarter people out there doing accounting and tax work than me? Sure, I try and hire them every day. Like I try and hire all the smartest people in the world, and I'm pretty successful at it, which is so cool. Right. That they're way smarter than me.
That's right.
But here's the thing, I'm doing it, right? Nobody wants to do it. And that's the thing that's the piece that Tony brings together. He gets people in a position to take the action and like no regret, live with no regret, just go and do it. Start the podcast, start the business, go out and do the marketing, go to the conference, go learn, whatever it is, do it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it, and I think that's the definition of insanity, right? If you keep doing the same thing over and over and you expect a different result, you're insane.
That's right.
Right? We have to change our behaviors and our actions if we want a different outcome. And I think Tony does that better than anybody in the world.
I love that. And so while we're on this topic of that, I have this beautiful image from your website that I printed out of you. of you coaching. And so while we're on this topic, I got to bring this up. I mean, your mastermind program, and I need to understand it a little bit more. Again, I go back to the old books that I read. Napoleon Hill talks about masterminds, and we start hearing a lot about masterminds as we start digging more into professional development. But so I'm interested in your mastermind and what you do differently there, how you're disrupting the mastermind space, right, in $1 Million Year.
Totally. Yeah. So $1 Million Year is our program. And again, why did the $1 Million Year happen? Why did we write a book? We wrote a book because we wanted to be able to touch more people positively, that it was a low cost investment for people to get access, right? We got that on there. Maybe we could chat about that too. But the book was essentially the foundation for the coaching program, where it was like, okay, financial literacy of business owners is low, right? Business owners don't get their finances, and they don't really care to, except to know that everything's going to be okay. They want to know, what decisions can I make? If I have two options, which one's going to be financially better for me? They want to know that. And there's a big void in this world for financial and outcomes-based coaching. So we created $1 Million Year, in essence, for business owners to understand how they can earn their first $1 million. Or if they're at $1 million, let's say it's revenue, how to get to 2, how to build the team. We're now an 8-figure company, and I've failed in every way possible, whether it's from hiring the wrong person, or selling the wrong product, or getting our price wrong, or not having our core values in place. Like, we've done it all. We've screwed up in every single way possible. And our coaching program shares that journey and says, okay, here's all the ways we've messed up, and here's the ways that we've either corrected it, or here's the really cool things that we've done that have worked really well. Here's all the tools. So our $1 Million Year program has been in existence for 2 years. We've got hundreds of business owners that are in there. We meet weekly. We do a weekly training. We bring in incredible people like actually Dan Martell. I don't know if you know Dan Martell at all, but Wall Street Journal bestseller. Here's a little plug for my boy Dan.
Buy back your time.
Yeah, you were talking about the most valuable thing in your life being time. Check out Dan. We bring in guest experts like Dan Martell to talk about buying back your time as an entrepreneur. We have culture coaches who are in. We have marketing experts that come in to talk about how to generate leads. We talk about retention strategies. We talk about recruitment strategies, everything that a business needs to get to the next level. That's what the $1 Million Year is. And it's all founded on the financial confidence to be empowered to really grow and impact more lives. So that's our coaching program. We also have, there's always this piece, and I know I've seen a few come in this morning already, FAQ Friday for Bob. It's like, ask me anything. What financial questions do you have? What strategy questions do you have? And we record and share videos for every single member in there, and they learn off it. They add videos in, and they continue to support and make each other better. In essence, we've created a small business community that is guided by a team who've been there, done that, and is also supported by community members going through that same journey together. And it's a pretty magical space. I'm not going to lie, Michael. It's truly the area that I love spending my most time, is going out and connecting with those entrepreneurs and providing those insights and those values and solving the problems. It's an incredible piece. And also, 15 years in for us, pretty involved in the coaching world myself with my own coaches, the access we have to resources to bring in to support our community as well. Like, we're able to bring in the best coaches in the world to come in because they're colleagues of mine, and we support each other, and then they come in and help support our community too. So it's a pretty amazing spot. It's something I'm really, really proud of. And our success rate for getting people to achieving their $1 Million Year or achieving financial success is, 90%. And that's because people show up and do the work. And it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. And there's got to be something about just getting all the like-minded people in the room, that energy. I was just speaking about it with Katie, I call her my director of marketing. She doesn't have that official title because she's actually a contractor and has her own business. But we talk about my events, which are actually called Take Action events, which I would you have an open invitation, sir. We have these events, and we were just talking about the event, and we were actually talking about Tony Robbins, of course, go figure. And what I was saying to her was, we've done a few already, and we're trying to plan out our next one, which will probably take place in the summer. And I said, there's no difference in the information that we're sharing. It's we're going to share information that they can get online, that they can download a Tony Robbins video or something and learn from it. But by getting them in a room together, it's the energy that we're creating. It's the energy of bringing these like-minded individuals together that I'm trying to create at my events. And that's what you experience at Tony's, and I'm sure you experience at your events. And so where I'm going with this is this mastermind club that you have, the $1 Million Year. I'm just interested in the energy in the room and what it feels like for you, the creator of this.
Oh, dude, this is my baby. It's funny, and I talked about this at the beginning of really what our intention was, or what my intention was when I started this, was to be different and use the expertise that we have as accountants, across the world, whether they're complete introverts and you can't have a conversation with them or not. There is so much knowledge in here about what works and what doesn't work, because that's what they do. They're reviewing and working with business owners every single day. It may just be trapped in their brain and they never share that. But I wanted that to be different. I wanted to be able to share that and empower that information with other people. So, when I come in and we have, a session where people are sharing their wins, right? And the energy of people just taking action is just, for me, I get emotional. I'm not going to lie. I get choked up when I see people having the success that they have, and it changes their lives, their families' lives, people getting time back that they didn't think they had, because now they've known, they have the confidence to know they can go hire somebody to help get them out of the weeds. Oh man, it is, it's so fulfilling for me. And when I think of our purpose, our why is to influence the lives of millions of people. This is by far the biggest way that I can influence people, is getting in there and just sharing with them, helping them solve problems, and sharing our knowledge that they just don't have in the financial expertise space. And I'm like a proud dad.
Yeah, and I think that energy, it then translates to everybody else in the room, especially when people are sharing their wins, other people start thinking about their wins and everything. Something that you mentioned about your mastermind that I think that I at least think is different, because I haven't heard about this in the masterminds, is this support team that you have built in there. And I would assume, obviously, it's definitely there to teach and strategize and support wins and all that. But I would also assume that it's there to support the challenges and potentially the failures that are happening for some of the business owners in the group. And I'm just wondering how you kind of help in terms of that. How does the group come together to support that business owner in those challenging times?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is, again, something that we want to create inside our own business, probably because we see the power of it, is the candid conversations and candid feedback. So let's be real and honest and open in all our conversations with our team, with our clients. So what's working for them and what's not, right? Where are they struggling? Because I guarantee you, with the hundreds of members that are in there, including me, one of us has had that fail, has gone through there and done that before, and we've figured out how to get around it or to get through it. And it's that support. And we kind of kicked this off today talking about celebrating success. And I think sometimes celebrating the success is continuing on this journey and persevering. because we were talking about the difference between business owners and entrepreneurs take on more risk to make more change. They need perseverance because it's not an easy world. And everybody thinks business owners have it made.
Right.
Oh, you can take Friday off and go golfing, or you can, attend your kid's soccer game, and oh, it must be nice. And we go, yeah, after the 100 hours this week that we put in, putting out fires, dealing with, challenging time, one of our clients couldn't pay, so we're out money, all of those things, we need resilience to get through that. And as part of this community, it's an open space to share your wins, but your losses, and have that support for each other. And I truthfully, I think of being a business owner and move away from the community for a moment. You can't share these conversations openly with your friends and family. They don't get it, right? They just don't understand, any win is a brag, life is great. Oh, poor you had to work extra, but you got to go to your kid's game, or you have a nice car or whatever. People just don't understand what goes into this and the challenges and roadblocks. To have a community where wins and losses can be shared openly, and we celebrate each other for them and help support each other through it or past it, it's a pretty powerful community to be part of.
Yeah. And surrounding yourself with people who want to grow and who are at a high level is just tremendous. I've learned that just by doing this podcast, by meeting people like yourself, by getting the opportunity to interview people who are levels above where levels to where I strive to be, let's put, and so I learned so much from meeting people like yourself, and being in a room with other entrepreneurs where, one, you can help bring them up, like you said, in their losses, but then also learn from somebody's win is tremendous. You said the mastermind came from the book, and that is the Wealthy Entrepreneur. And so you're an author, which is something I aspire to become one day. Just tell us a little bit about this book here.
Oh, well, writing a book is not the easiest thing, Michael. I'm not going to lie. I do quite a bit of writing. I write for Entrepreneur on and off, Forbes on and off, Canadian Business on and off. But to actually sit down and write hundreds of pages, you're like, man, this is a challenge. Now, the reason that I persevered through that wasn't because I wanted to be an author. Truthfully, I was like, I couldn't care less. In fact, I'm sure outside of my community, people are going, oh, who does he think he is being an author, right? That's the reality of being a business owner. When we go do something different, it's always, oh, who do they think they are? But the reason that I wrote it was that I know that book in the hands of somebody who otherwise wouldn't be able to connect with me or my team, that we can have that positive impact on those people. And, one of the cool things, whether my publisher liked it or not, I'm going to say not, was that as soon as we finished the book and we did the sale or whatever, we got the Amazon bestseller position. And as soon as that was over, I was like, okay, well, that's underwhelming. We sold thousands of copies in a short period of time. But what if it was hundreds of thousands? And what if we got this to hundreds of thousands of people so that they could take one piece from this book and it changes their life? What if we just give it away? And so we started giving it away online. We started marketing it and just saying, here's a free copy. And we gave away hundreds of thousands of downloads of our book. Now, I don't know how many people read it. I think it was a nice idea, but Michael, to your point, it's like, take action. If you take action and learn one thing from this book and it takes you one step closer to financial success in your life, that changes it for me. So my purpose of this was to try and positively impact the most amount of people with some of the knowledge I have. And writing a book was the easiest medium to get that out to the most amount of people.
I love that. That's a really great way to put it, because I struggle. It's been probably 3 years since I have been inspired to write a book, and I think that's probably the missing piece for me, because I like you, I don't identify with needing to be an author. It's a cool little thing you could put on LinkedIn, right? But that's not what I identify with as like my purpose to writing a book. And I'm trying to figure out what it is. And it's nice to hear from somebody like yourself that's accomplished in that space to say, that wasn't my purpose either. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. So I don't need to care whether I'm an author or not. It's really more of like, why do I want to write this book? What is it about the book?
And I would say, if I could just jump in for 1 second on this, like I would say already in connecting with you today, I can see your purpose for writing the book. And that is to help more people take action in their lives, right? Like if your events are focused on people actually doing something with the information, and I'm guessing you're a big impact and influence guy as well, which is why you're doing what you're doing. The fact of writing a book isn't to be the author. Yes, does it help when you think of yourself as an authority, or people look at you and say you're an authority because you've written a book on this, or you've been featured here, or you've got this event? Yes, it certainly helps, but that's not going to push you through the pain of writing one of these things, right? Because it's not an easy experience. But knowing that you can actually get in the hands of people you wouldn't otherwise meet, and you can enable them to make that change and to take that action when they otherwise wouldn't, your book could change the lives of millions of people. And I think that's super cool. And I would love to know more about your events too. So make sure you send those to me after, because I would love to see how I can support you on that mission. Oh my goodness, 100%. We're gonna be hooking up on that. And thank you for giving me my purpose to my book. I wrote that down. I made notes on that. So I love this higher purpose of impacting millions of people. And I've been blessed in meeting Summer from 10X Stages and getting hooked up with people like yourself and so many others who come from 10X Stages and Grant Cardone and Pete Vargas's program here. And I hear so often this wanting to impact millions of lives, and it's really starting to resonate with me. And I need to rewrite my mission statement. And you're doing that in a lot of the philanthropic work that you're already doing. And in one of them, it's the Junior Achievement Program. And I would love if you could just share a little bit more about the Junior Achievement Program and how you're impacting their lives. This damn Junior Achievement Program, they've got to like I wish they could monetize the amount of times I endorse them, and this would get them more funding for what they do, because they're beautiful. Really incredible, right? So Junior Achievement, one of my missions, one of my expertise levels is on financial literacy, and Junior Achievement aligns with that in so many ways. And they've got organizations, I think, all over the world. We obviously focus on working with the one that's in the closest proximity to us, but they go into schools. And, again, I take it back, influencing people. And typically it's been solely focused on business owners, but business owners making an influence in their lives is sometimes also influencing the next generation of business owners. And Junior Achievement goes into schools and helps them focus on financial literacy. Whether you're in the US or you're in Canada, the financial literacy education is embarrassing in our school systems. It's just not significant enough. Nobody talks about how to budget your life. Nobody talks about debt and how debt works and how you have to repay it, or interest rates. And I always love this time of year. I always get these damn memes sent to me that's like, oh, thank God in high school I got taught about a parallelogram. It really helps me when I go to file my taxes, right? Because it's true. Nobody talks about taxes and how they work. And, we're so uneducated as countries, as North America, as, arguably the most sophisticated area in the world. And our financial literacy is so low. So Junior Achievement goes in to our next generation. They go into elementary schools and high schools, and they teach them financial literacy. And our team is actively involved. I know my team sometimes, although it costs a lot to have these guys on salary, these 100 people, sometimes they disappear and they all end up out into high schools, and they're teaching kids and they're walking them through case studies of how to build a business and how the financial impacts of those decisions will actually influence the outcome of the success of the business. And it's amazing that we're able to share that expertise, but I don't even want to say that our influence on that program is anything. That organization, the fact that they are, pushing themselves into the education system to bring this financial literacy to kids is such an important mission of work. And I can't advocate for them high enough.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. Yeah. It's, I'm a bit interested in how you make a child understand, or how you help a child understand expenses and debt and all that stuff. Because even as an adult, even as an entrepreneur myself, sometimes it's very challenging to understand money in, money out, and all those other things that are happening in a P&L report. And my assumption would be that you don't go as granular as that, but it's got to be challenging. Is there any type of techniques that you guys use or that you are aware of for kids?
So for them, and I won't necessarily speak to this, so check them out, Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement Canada, I don't know what the organization is in the US, but I'm sure that there's a sister organization there. I do remember researching this a while ago, Michael, because a couple years ago, they changed the education regulations in Canada, where they were introducing more financial literacy into the education system. And I was like, yes, our advocacy for this is now happening. And then I looked at it and I was like, you can't add 2 days of financial literacy into a 10-year education program and think that that's sufficient enough. Right. So I was looking at Junior Achievement, and they do have different trainings and financial literacy guidelines for different age groups. So they start younger. Their intention is to start in essentially the elementary school level and then continue to bring that up. So even just having the conversations about money,
right?
What is money? What does it do at a younger age, right? I think of my kids, my damn kids, my wife would call them spoiled. I don't think that they're spoiled. They're incredible humans. But they don't necessarily understand what comes into the fact that my son eats $500 worth of groceries a week because he's a high performance athlete, and he just eats all the time. He doesn't understand the financial consequence of that. We talk to him about it,
right?
But our kids, because they're not necessarily having to be financially responsible for the household, they don't get that. So that financial literacy and understanding of, we're trying to grow you up to be a responsible adult, to not get yourself in financial trouble like so many people get into. Here's some basic concepts that you'll go, oh yeah, debt is a problem in our economy. When interest rates go up, when inflation is going up, and interest rates are forced up by the Bank of America and the Bank of Canada, and all of a sudden your mortgage payment changes because you've got a variable rate mortgage, and now, oh my goodness, you're cash strapped. You know what? Maybe I now know the difference between fixed and variable rate mortgages. I know that I probably shouldn't get myself into a position of a variable rate mortgage if I'm that close to the line, because that variability could cause me to have financial hardship. And I think there's just small little pieces of information that if we all knew these things as kids, we could maybe avoid making some of the financial mistakes that our parents did.
Yeah.
And I think, statistically, again, I like numbers, of course. I believe I was at a presentation the other day, and 60% of the Canadian mortgages were in variable rate mortgages prior to 2023, I think mid 2022. And now it's 80-20, 80% fixed versus 20% variable. So people are switching, but the cost of being in that variable position, it's a risk factor, right? And And you and I, as business owners, we are more likely to be in that variable rate market because we're more adapt to taking on different types of risks, and we understand that. But the fixed income individual who has no other means to go out and sell another product or service or grow their business, their income is $1,000 a week. They can't change that easily. So when their mortgage payment goes up, it hurts. And, I think those are just, if we break them down to, what is money? What can it be used for? How do we make it? How do we spend it? What are the things that, what are luxury items? What are necessities? How does finances protect our security and our comfort as individuals? Like, even those concepts being trained for kids and how to budget for them, I think is, that could change a generation. And I wish that more organizations like Junior Achievement were being able to infiltrate our next generation, because I think that's just knowledge we need to live a happy, secure life without always worrying about financial strain.
I like the way that you broke that down. That was incredible, because you really, when you talk about your son and the $500 a week helps understand that it's because it's not his money yet. And going into the whole mortgage thing, it's like, but the lessons that you're teaching him now, and I think this is, something that needs to be talked about in terms of patience when we're teaching, and, you're a teacher, you're a coach, and it's about having patience with the person that we're working with, in that you're planting the seed. So to my question that I had of like, how do you get them to understand all this? And what I got from you is like, we don't try to get them to understand it all. Just plant the seed so that when your son goes out to buy the house, he goes, oh, this is why we needed to cut back on the protein shakes that week.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And here's how we can set up, 10% of our paycheck to put it aside for savings. Like, I think it was Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've read the book Atomic Habits, right?
Yeah, clearly.
So it's, looking at those small incremental changes. I think it's, the 1% a day was like 140% change or something like that in a year. Getting in the habit of, this is just what you need to do to put some savings away. Or this is what you need to do to help make sure you don't spend all your money. And here's a trick about credit cards, so you don't get yourself in a position that you owe and they're charging you 21% interest annually, and you can't even keep up with that. So like, getting in those small, tiny habits of, this is just how you can do things to position yourself better financially for your life. Get in those habits at a young age, because it's harder to train us older folk on getting those habits in place later on. Yeah.
I remember sitting with my advisors, my financial advisors, and explaining to me a P&L report while I'm in it. The SBA loan is there, everything's on the table, and it's like, this is live, and I'm learning right now how to do a P&L report. I mean, the anxiety that was running through me at the time, which I'm much different now, but I mean, that was the first time that I really had it. A little funny story as we start concluding here in terms of kids and money is, I remember my wife goes up to the ATM, the bank's ATM, and my daughters are right now, they're 5 and 8. They were this probably was about a year or two ago. And so my wife gets money out of the ATM, whatever, does her daily thing, whatever. And a day or two later, the girls wanted something, and we said, well, we have to pay for that. And my daughter just turns around and she goes, that's okay, we'll just go to the money store and get money.
That's exactly it. Yeah, tell those kids money doesn't grow on trees. It just comes out of a machine whenever you want it, right?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we had to explain, mommy goes to work to put the money in the bank to get it out. Just go to the money store and just go pull it out. In your bio, I had asked about a mantra or an inspirational quote. And I thought this was an interesting one, and it really brings the conversation that we've been having about your core values, about hockey, about life, kind of brings it all full circle. So I really love that you chose this one, and it's "Go the extra mile. There is no one on it." Grant Cardone. And if you could just share a little bit more about what that means to you.
Yeah, and I like Grant Cardone a lot. He's not for everybody, and I don't necessarily agree with everything Grant says, but his teachings are simple and effective. And, even connecting back to your take action, and getting people to take action, with him saying that go the extra mile because there's nobody there, is that when you go above and beyond and you add more value than anybody else, which is a Tony Robbins line, and when you continue to take action, at some point, there's not going to be anybody else around you because you've persevered and you've made decisions and you've actually implemented tools and tactics more than anybody else will. Because even, during our conversation today, knowing that, writing the book or doing the podcast or starting the business, you're already the 0.1 of 1% that would never do it because of the fear or the inaction. When we take those action items, when we pursue our dreams, when we follow through and we're persistent, if we can continue on that pathway, we will win in so many ways. And it might not necessarily be financial in a short term, but we will win in so many ways because nobody will be there with us. And when we're the last man standing or the last woman standing, because we've pushed and made so many positive choices and negative choices and wins and losses, you're going to end up out there in a land where no one else is willing to do it. And, I think there's other individuals who talk about, work ethic and just continuing to show up. And I think for any business owner, if you keep pushing forward, you keep taking action, the value of your worth at the end of the day, when you're standing alone, everyone will want to work with you.
I love that. You articulated that so beautifully. And I'll just add a little tangibility to that for everyone, because you just said this percentage of 1% of people. I just recently learned that this podcast, my show, we're just approaching 1,000 downloads, and the executives here at iHeart shared with me that puts me in the top 5% of podcasters out there. And that's incredible, amazing. Right? That's amazing to hear. But what that tells you is that's not a lot of downloads. Like, there's hundreds, there's other podcasters, hundreds of thousands of downloads, tens of thousands of downloads. That's not a lot of downloads. But what it means is, like what you just talked about, is there's so many people who start but don't finish. So many people who start but aren't consistent. And that passion disappears and fades. And to the point to where by just getting close to 1,000 downloads puts you in the top 5%. I just want to give everybody that little bit of tangibility of how many people drop off. And so just going that extra mile, like you said, and then the disparity between 5% and 1% of podcasters is huge. Like it's incredible. So I love how you articulated that, and I'm really, really appreciative for that.
And congratulations, Michael. That's awesome. Top 5% of podcasts. Let's see if we can't get you in the top 1%, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, and it's interesting that you say that, and while you were just saying that too about the road less traveled is, that I did an episode this morning about starting a podcast, because today's podcast day, I call it, on my IGs. And I said, you got to do it because you're passionate about it, because you're not going to get the rewards right away. And they might never come in the way that you or society say they need to come. And so it has to be something internal. It has to be passionate. It has to be passion if you're going to go out and do this, whatever it is that you choose to do. Open up an advisory firm like you did, coaching, mastermind, the insurance company, all the different things. It has to be passion, because if you're waiting, if you're hoping or expecting a reward or some sort, it's going to be hard to get to that extra mile, and it's going to be really hard and challenging to get there. So anyway, that's how.
Inspiration keeps you going, yeah. Right? When the cause is bigger than you.
That's right.
When there's something bigger than you that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
That will keep you inspired, and that will keep you and the people around you inspired to deliver on that mission too. And, back to, the love and like situation, you might not like doing every podcast, right? But you love the mission of what it is that it's accomplishing. And that's what keeps you coming back even on those tough days. And that's for every business out there. That's what we have to find. We have to find the love. Otherwise, we're going to peter out and we're not going to follow through, like you said. And it's a damn shame because there's so many good ideas and there's so many great initiatives out there. But if they're doing it for the wrong reason or not for the reason that people won't get inspired by, then they'll fall off. So for everyone out there, focus on understanding your purpose and something that's bigger than you, and get behind it, and other people will join you.
I love that. I love that. So I am so appreciative for you coming on. For anybody listening, of course, this will be in the show notes as always, but just for our audio listeners, if you could share, how could they get in contact with you, follow you, or find you right now?
Yeah, there's a few different ways. So challenging last name, right? That's the spelling of it. But our company is Gauvreau CPA, which is GAUVREAU CPA. So that's on any of the social media channels, including YouTube. Myself, it's Robert Gauvreau are my social media handles. You can check out our website, gauvrocpa.ca. And for anybody who's listening, who feels like we can, you could be one of those people that we could positively influence to get over the top. We would love to connect and see how we can support you.
Awesome. And of course, that spelling, all of that will be in the show notes, so you can always reference back to those. I do want to know, I love, so I put in the form pronunciation just in case I need it. And whether it was your team or you, I love how you guys were like GoPro, but with a V. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's so easy. I got it.
They like to put that in there. My wife, I remember that, when we very early on in our marriage, she was like, can we get rid of some vowels in this name? Or I said, sorry, honey, that's just not how it works. Oh
man, it was brilliant. I really loved it. I got to tell you, this was really, really a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to interview you and learn from you. I whenever I think about an interview like this, where somebody has had so many accomplishments, so much success in their career and in their business, there certainly is an intimidation factor that goes into having the opportunity to interview somebody like you. But what gets me into the frame of mind of being able to come here and give my best self to you is, what do I want to learn from this person? And I come in with an inquisitive mind, and I got to tell you, mission accomplished from your end. I learned a tremendous amount from you today, and I look forward to this relationship. This was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Pleasure to be here.
Cool. Thank you for listening to the Michael Esposito Show. For show notes, video clips, and more episodes, go to michaelespositoinc.com/podcast. Thank you again to our sponsor, Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. That's DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. This episode was produced by Uncle Mike at the iHeart Studios in Poughkeepsie. Special thanks to Lara Rodrian for the opportunity and my team at Michael Esposito Inc.